All right, we want to begin with the UN, which issued a warning yesterday. Russia's invasion of Ukraine could soon cause a global crisis that may last for years. Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the war had worsened food insecurity in poorer nations due to high prices. He said some countries could face long-term famine if Ukraine's exports are not restored to pre-war levels. The conflict has cut off supplies from Ukraine's ports, which once exported vast amounts of cooking oil, such as cereals, maize, and wheat. Now, this has reduced the global supply and caused the price of alternatives to soar. Global food prices hit almost 30%, were 30% higher than the same period last time the year. Now, that's according to the UN. Let's listen to the UN Chief Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
In Ukraine is amplifying and accelerating all these factors: climate change, COVID-19, and inequality. It threatens to tip tens of millions of people over the edge into food insecurity, followed by malnutrition, mass hunger, and famine in a crisis that could last for years. But let's be clear, there is no effective solution to the food crisis without reintegrating Ukraine's food production, as well as the food and fertilizer produced by Russia and Belarus, into world markets despite the war.
Well, back home, farmers are already feeling the effects of the fertilizer shortage. Joining me to discuss, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Fertilizer Ghana, Prince Adepa. Good to have you on the program this afternoon. What is the state of supply of fertilizer here in the country at the moment?
Thank you very much. I think it's quite difficult situation. We actually struggling, and we're not actually been able to have our hands on it.
Explain further what the struggle is. We know there's a war that has impacted supply from Ukraine. Is that all?
Yes, that is the external factors that one can talk about. But beyond that, we feel internally we have issues as well with regards to the handling of fertilizer, and generally our agricultural policies, how it impacts generally the food production as we know it.
And so what are the issues? What are the issues beyond Ukraine?
So beyond Ukraine are the issues of debt owed by government for the past 2 years. That it's actually becoming a setback for importers of fertilizer products to be able to make very necessary arrangements. As at last year, we came out as a chamber, to need pre-warn government of the likelihood of this fertilizer prices escalating to what it is now. It's always been worsened by the war between Russia and Ukraine. So generally, these are supposed to be the external factors, but then internally, we haven't done much to be able to avert the impact as it is today.
And we are told that government owes the chamber 400 million cedis. For how long has that debt been on your books, and how is that impacting on your operations?
Yes, for the past 2 years, government have been making some efforts to pay, but then the timeliness is an issue, and for the fact that it's been on our books for the past 2 years, goes to affect all the arrangements that were supposed to have made from last year. Because usually you make projections and you make orders and prepare against the coming season. That's like the season we're currently in. So with this issue of owed amounts, it actually disturbed the arrangements that we had with suppliers. That has really resulted in the shortage of fertilizer on the market.
Okay, and is there any indication that a government will pay soon? What sort of responses are you getting from government?
Yeah, government keeps promising to pay off, but then we don't have a specific timeline as to you pay in the next 2 or 1 month time to enable us plan around this payment.
And what are the implications for Ghana's food security? I mean, we heard the UN chief talk about what's happening in Ukraine and how it's going to affect food prices and the supply of food globally. And we are having that situation already, feeling the impact. The farmers are complaining about it. What would be the implications in the coming months if the farmers don't get enough fertilizer?
Yes, we actually run the risk of having farming experience in farming, because what it does is if the farmer doesn't get enough in the right dosage for their production, obviously they're not expected to get the yields as they expect. And because of this scarcity and also the high cost of the fertilizer, farmers have not been able to produce as they used to, and therefore the high tendency of us not getting the yields and even the targets as we project for the country, and therefore we run the risk of having food shortages, and in fact it's quite dire for us if we don't mitigate whatever locally these challenges.
And that's something that beats me. Would it be far-fetched to produce fertilizer locally?
It's a possibility, but then it doesn't look like it can be in the short or medium term. It's supposed to be a long-term project, which has to come from all stakeholders, government, investors, and all that, because it's a very capital-intensive project. And so the easiest we can do or can have our hands around is the organic production of fertilizer, which usually through which we usually get through our waste materials, organic waste materials that are all over around us. And so there are some companies in the country currently that are doing very well with this production, but then it's not up to the volumes that can close the gap we're having with the shortage of the chemical fertilizers.
My final question, what sort of support does the chamber need right now?
Basically, I think the chamber needs government to actually sit, and then we discuss these challenges beyond it being, an issue of government. So all stakeholders are supposed to come together round table to discuss the difficulties and the way out. And also we expect government to look at the charges, the fees at the port for the few companies that are able to bring this product in. And so the cost of this fertilizers on the market can at least be reduced as much as it can be. So at least it becomes available and affordable to the farmers to be able to use for their farming activities.
All right. Thank you so much, Prince Adepa, CEO of the Chamber of Fertilizer Ghana, for speaking with us this afternoon. And as indicates, we risk famine if we do not do something about our fertilizer supply challenge. We'll be speaking to you subsequently as we continue to monitor the situation with food. Now, another story we are monitoring for you is the Mpc meeting, as businesses wait for the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana to end its meeting and announce a policy rate on Monday next week. Chief Executive of Delex Finance, Ken Thompson, has downplayed any significant effect of the rate on inflation. The policy rate is currently at 17%, whilst inflation is at 23.6%. Ken Thompson spoke extensively to Joy Business's Lawrence Segbefia. Listen to what he makes of the rise in inflation.
You know, I've heard a lot of commentary on the airwaves about the Mpc meeting, and a lot of Ghanaians are expectant. But the truth of the matter is that we've got to look at what is causing the inflation. It's not an increase in money supply, it's an increase in prices. We have a full-blown crisis with respect to the cost of living. We have a cost of living crisis. And unfortunately, the governor cannot do anything about it. The governor cannot do anything about this cost of living price crisis because it's coming from increase in the price of oil, which affects everything. It's coming from decrease in the supply of commodities because of what's happening in Ukraine, extra. A lot of countries have actually banned, including Ghana, the export of food. So the governor can't do anything about it. There's nothing that can be done. We have to swallow it. We have to swallow it. I mean, prices have gone through the roof. So if I'm a betting man, I'd say that the rates probably remain the same. And even if you look at, say, places like England, I mean, they hit inflation of nearly 10% this April, and the base rate is about hovering under 2%. We've just got to swallow it. There's very little the governor can do about it. There's very little the MPC can do about it. We just have to swallow it.
So if you say that there is very little the governor can do about it, does it then mean that we should look at the fiscal side? And if we are looking at the fiscal side, what are we supposed to do?
If you know, this unfortunately is going to get much worse before it gets better, even if we start doing something about it. It's going to get much worse before it starts getting better. Here is a country that has been addicted to foreign goods and services forever. And I've talked about this so many times. We're addicted to foreign goods and services. So of course, we import inflation. Of course, it presents an opportunity for Ghanaians to now start to produce, but we have to start. You know, what really breaks my heart, is my staff, they hound me, and I'm using hound with a small a. They hound me for increase in salaries. And I honestly wish I could double everybody's salary. Because we've been hit with, not only in the inflation, you know, what's the cause? We had currency depreciation, we had increase in oil prices, we have increase in food prices. It's a triple whammy. But I can't, as a business, we can't do it. We just can't. And really, I'm the CEO, so maybe I have a bit more cushion, only because probably I earn a bit more. But my lifestyle has changed. My lifestyle has changed. If you ask my staff, all I eat every afternoon is a yogurt gari, which is okay. I don't mind that. But I suspect that there'll be some starvation. I suspect that. If you look at the price of basic gari, plantain, there'll be some starvation. And it's going to get much worse before it gets better, because we've been addicted to foreign goods and services for a very long time. So it was obvious that something like this would hit us. And everybody in Ghana knows that we are addicted to foreign goods and services. I'll give you examples of opportunities that have been there that we've never taken advantage of. Do you know that Ghana is the second largest importer of tomato paste behind Germany? Can you imagine? We spend approximately $28 million on tomato paste every year. We spend over $300 million on importing chicken every year. So of course, if price of chicken goes up externally, it's going to affect us. And people will talk about the feed extra. Yes, I agree, but we were sitting ducks, and it's going to get much worse before it gets better.
What would be your response to those on the government side who say that there were good initiatives like the planting for food and jobs, which saw a lot of injection of money, and so we should have seen this food on the market?
So who's being held responsible for not putting the food on the market? It's the people that executed. What are they talking about? You say you put in 100 million in a project, and when we need food, we don't get it. You say, so is it my responsibility? It's the people that were put in place to execute. Is it my responsibility? Let's not even go there. I don't want to talk about this. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. And I think a lot of money has been spent. But here we are where, if you buy plantain, one finger of plantain is, 1 cedi. Okra, 1 cedi. Tomatoes, 1 cedi. It's ridiculous. I don't know how much was invested in agricultural infrastructure, because if it was invested in agricultural infrastructure, we had dams, things like dams, warehouses, then probably there's a possibility that these can take over and support our farmers. How much? But even if you are planting tomatoes, is an example, the roads are terrible. So by the time you add on the cost of transportation, really, you're back to square one. It's the responsibility of government. It's not my responsibility.
Okay, let's look forward. So going forward, we are aware. We know that there was planting for food and jobs. There was one dam, one village, and all that. Do you think the implementation didn't go well? Is that what you are suggesting?
All I know, and I don't know how the details, but all I know is that we have a cost of living crisis and people will starve. We have a cost of living crisis, and let's deal with it. What's happened is happened. I don't deal with that. So all the money was spent in build dams. Where is the effect on the table when people go to the market? That is what matters. Isn't that what matters? That's what matters. The rest is irrelevant. We have to swallow the inflation. My prediction is that the rates won't change much, if at all, they remain the same. And we have to take a long-term position as to solve this problem, because we are addicted to foreign goods and services. So in as much as a lot of inflation has come from overseas, a lot more has come from us, because we've never done the things that are necessary for us to create jobs, build indigenous businesses, so that we can grow and develop. What are we complaining about?
When we saw inflation going up, we saw the central bank also react by increasing the policy rate, and still inflation has gone up and it is above the policy rate. Some say it is a mismatch. So from you are saying from the monetary side, what the central bank will do may not amount to, but there are some others who also think that it may take some time for us to see the effects. What is your response to that?
If you follow global affairs, I mean, a lot of countries are in the same situation because, you know, the price have gone up through nothing that, you know, is being due to external forces. If for nothing at all, the price of fuel has gone up. The governor has, you know, the governor of the central bank has one key instrument: interest rates. What's he going to do? He's going to take, if I was a governor, I'll take a long-term view. So what, increase interest rates to, the Mpc rate to 27%, that's a collapse. That's the more collapse. But we've got to take a long-term view. We've got to find ways to swallow it. And we've got to manage it. And we've got to be able to show that, you know, we're going to recover over time. And that's source of interest, you know, to people that invest. And those things are key. But I don't expect the rate to go, if we're going by that approach, then the rate will go, you know, let's say you're looking at 26%, I doubt it very much. It will probably remain the same. And they're going to take a long-term view of the market, because what's afflicting us is afflicting the bigger economies in the world. Their inflation rates are higher than their base rates, much higher. I mean, not much higher, but in terms of they're higher. Yes. All
right. So you've mentioned interest rates, and the concern is that interest rates to the real sectors of the economy, agriculture, agribusiness, manufacturing, is high, and it is one of the reasons why we are not seeing the growth that we want. You are a key player in the financial sector. What is the solution to this particular challenge?
You know, if we really want to grow, then we've got to ensure that the government stays out of business. All we're looking for, all the private sector is looking for, is create regulations, make them fair, make them transparent, and let people work. That is all we're looking for. That is all. I mean, you run a small outfit. Today is FDA. Tomorrow is food and drugs. That's just food and drug. Tomorrow is NIB. It's BNI, National Security, GRA, the Assembly. Just let us work. That's all Ghanaians are looking for, because you don't realize that over 70% of the economy is informal. And when you go up and down the country, you don't see people looking for government to help them. They want to work. Just create the infrastructure and allow us to work. Let the courts work. That's what we're looking for. And if we really are serious, those are the things to look at, and let people work. That's all it is. And that is what is going to get out of this hole. And in another, you know, in the same breath, what I'll say is that the small and medium scale enterprises should put their house together. I mean, I come across a lot of business, you don't know what your margins are, you don't know what your rent per square foot is, you don't know what your cost of staff is, you don't take stock, and every day you complain. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, what are you complaining about? So create the environment for people to do business. And if you go up and down this country, nobody wants government help. All they say is that give us the tools to work. Create the infrastructure and stay out of business. That's all.
A very interesting interview there with Ken Thompson, who is the Chief Executive of Deluxe Finance. Just a few points that he made about the rising inflation. He's saying that we are in a full-blown crisis and that it would get much worse before it gets better. As you can see on your screen, consumer prices rose to 23.6% in April, is the highest since 2004. Inflation is at more than double Bank of Ghana's target. Food price growth set to 26.6% year-on-year from 22.4% in March. Non-food inflation hit 21.3% in April from 17% in the previous month. Just to sum up all that Ken Thompson has been saying, we have a full-blown crisis. Bank of Ghana can do little about it. The cost of living is going to get much worse before it gets better. And he made a point about Ghana being addicted to importing goods and services. Well, on that point, moving on to our next story, President Kwawu says African countries must integrate more closely through competitive business, political cooperation, and investment for the realization of an Africa beyond aid. According to him, African countries should make the most of the African Continental Free Trade Area by adding value to their resources before exporting them in order to transform their economies. The president was speaking at the Academy of African Business and Development Conference in Accra.
With the aim to find solutions to the challenges facing development of African businesses, President Akufo-Addo called on African countries to enhance their efforts to develop in a sustainable way and take responsibility for their sustainable growth. Speaking at the Academy of African Business and Development in his second annual conference, he explained that economies can be transformed through value-added industrial economy.
I'm saying that African countries need to engage more closely, deeply, and competitively through trade, investments, political cooperation, and enhanced regional initiatives in peace and security. Together, African countries need to build our continent by building upon our strengths and holding each other up. Then, and only then, can we grow organically by wielding greater negotiating power to develop the continent of Africa. For a continent that has made the choice of pursuing integration, we have not done much as we should have in liberalizing and promoting trade amongst ourselves.
Meanwhile, Simon Sige, president of the Academy of African Business and Development, argued that Africa's intra-trade activity should be expanded to improve economies.
Definitely, I think that when you look at most of the economy in Africa today, the African economy are growing. Okay, I won't say that we will take credit, us as an academy, on what is going on in Africa, but I think that we are playing our part because most of the time we do research and we put the inside our research they are available to those who make decisions. So I believe that there should be a connection there because the work that we do is practical, is relevant, and is useful.
Academy of African Business and Development annual conferences aim at facilitating multidisciplinary research by stimulating collaborations between Africa-based researchers and professionals and their counterparts around the world by broadening and deepening global understanding of various issues relevant to Africa's business and development, as well as advancing solutions to some of her challenges.
And up next, our funded episode for today.
Hello guys, you are once again welcome to Fund It with me, Dr. Thelma Frimpong-Mensah of the Desert Youth Services and Consultancy. After you have practiced your pitch, it is equally important to know the kind of funding you are seeking. And so today we are going to talk about knowing the sorts of fund you are looking for. Remember that in business, it is always prudent to know the kind of investment you are looking for. Are you looking for debt or are you looking for equity? Whichever one you choose, make sure that you have enough knowledge about it so that you do not find yourself wanting. If you go for loan, remember that you will pay it back with interest. But when you go for equity, it is money given to you by the investor, but then you would have to part with some part of your business as a source of profits for the investor. And so in equity, you give part of your business to the investor and then you don't pay back the money that is used to fund your business. Always make sure that you know what you are doing and which of the funds you are going in for. Thank you for your time and see you in the next session.
Please, thanks for watching. Check out our website, myjoyonline.com/business for more stories. Enjoy the rest of the day.